Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. If you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for more of these episodes and podcasts. I am the author of the upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find out more information about that at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. So today we're interviewing Debbie Gainsford. She has her own firm called Debbie Gainsford Marketing, and she's a senior marketing professional with over 20 years of global experience spanning the dot-com boom to today's AI-driven world. Having worked with Getty Images, Reed Elsevier, Rocket Fuel, and Skimlinks, she's now focused on helping B2B SaaS companies transition from startup to scale up with effective marketing strategies. Debbie, welcome, and so good to have you.
Thanks so much, Guy.
Yeah, absolutely, and looking forward to hearing what you're doing. Especially, I have some thoughts or questions for you around Getty, but we'll get into that a little later.
Mhm.
So, what's your
Sure.
backstory on AI and marketing?
Yeah, so obviously it's early days still, I think, for everybody. So still trying to find my way with it. But I've been really interested in and sort of starting to dig into a lot around AI search. I've been playing with, all the other AI tools that marketers have got access to for the last couple of years. I was really fortunate when ChatGPT launched. I was working for a startup, and the engineers in that business were like really keen on exploring like exactly what ChatGPT could do. So, I was lucky that it's been something that's been part of my life since it first came out, and really being aware of like the power of what it can do and seeing how that's developed. Yeah, and for me, it's now really thinking about, okay, great. So there are these tools out there. Businesses need to shift because consumer behaviors are going to shift. What does that actually look like? And what can we as marketers and business owners do to help us make sure we capture our audience through these new AI search engines or tools or agents that are out there. So it's a real exciting time to play around with AI and see how it develops over the coming years too.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about search engines. I'm still so used to just typing in google.com and going
Yeah.
to Google for search. I haven't really tried ChatGPT for search. I mean, I use it for everything else. Well, a lot of other things, but not for search. So I need to maybe just try that out a little bit and start to change my habit. I guess maybe I'm just slow to change there.
Yeah, and it's interesting is if you try it using something from your day-to-day life, and I think that was one of the things that I first did when, ChatGPT originally came out. I was going on a work trip to America a couple of months later, and myself and one of my colleagues were like, okay, let's use it to build an itinerary. Let's tell it like where we're going and like how many days we're there, like where should we eat, what is there to do in the location, and actually seeing it sort of build that itinerary of like, oh, hey, this is a great place to go, and like, what about this? And, seeing the power from that perspective, and then how that just evolves into search from a business perspective as well.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yesterday, I was giving a workshop on AI and marketing, using it in a strategic way. There was a woman in there, and she is not a big user, but a reasonable user, and kind of like you. She
Yeah.
was planning her her wedding, which she wanted to do in northern Italy. And so she was using ChatGPT just like you did, as where do I want to go? What are all the cool
Yeah.
places and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely kind of neat. So
Yeah.
definitely a very good place to use it. So how are companies working with AI search and thinking about is it a new marketing strategy, or is it just about adopting and iterating on the strategy that you already have?
Yeah, so I'm starting to see a lot of questions, and really actually a lot of questions over the past month or so. It's ramped up around basically how do we get into AI search? We know how to do it with Google, we know about keyword optimization, and that's been something we've been doing for years, but actually, how do we make that happen in search and in AI search? There isn't a single answer for it at the moment. As you said, there is there's no way to pay to play like there is across most other channels that we use from a marketing perspective. And it really is around looking at how we optimize what we're already doing and start thinking again. And a lot of businesses have really focused in on sometimes like a single or very few sort of channel approach to their marketing. It may be like paid search or SEO or paid social. But what the signals are coming out of AI search is much, much broader than that. So having a real like holistic marketing strategy in place is key to, help you appear in those search engines and to really, make sure you stand out in front of your competitors as well.
Yeah, so are the results similarly scored so that, the more traffic you have, the more backlinks you have, the more authority you have. Is that similar to the results that you would get in ChatGPT, for example?
Similar, so it definitely seems to be looking at those signals. I think what's great about AI search, and I've been running some tests in it recently as well, is that if you're using the search functionality, if you actually click on that search button in ChatGPT, once you've asked it to, seek the answer that you're looking for, there is a button down the bottom that says sources. And when you click
Mm,
on that, it opens a panel down the side and it shows you all of those different data sources that it's actually like pulling through from. And it's so much broader than what we look at today from a search perspective. So definitely authority is part of that, but it's
mm.
recency of content. It's looking at, how conversational language is used in people's marketing as well. That's very clear with what comes through from the search results as well. So it's really, it's looking at, much, much more granular data than what it does from a search perspective. But from what I can see as well, things like, site speed and structure and, mobile optimization, super important still when it comes to AI
Mm.
search because you want to have those quick, responses. So everything that's important from optimizing a website from a technical perspective for speed, is equally important when it comes to, AI search as it is to, Google or
Yeah.
Bing today.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does it, let's say YouTube and, I've got this podcast. Does that add to the search results? Is that something that, the content there, and does it somehow, look at the transcripts or look at the video and somehow transcribe what's there? Do you have any feel for that?
Yeah, so what I've seen when I first started really digging into this, which was sort of around October time last year, I was like, let me go down the rabbit hole, so to speak, to see, what it is. It was very much those text-based responses that were coming through. So and that's great. But what I've seen over the past month as well is that actually videos are being embedded as part of those search results. So I did, I played around the other day and asked ChatGPT the same 5 questions for HubSpot and Salesforce to do a comparison of, what would come through. And it's picking up videos from their YouTube channels and actually inserting them
Hmm.
as a video in the search results. And
Hmm.
what it's showing is, how you title a video is really important as to whether or
Hmm.
not it appears as part of those search results as well. So you'll see like the text answers, and then it's like, oh, hey, here's a video that actually gives you more information. It could be a demo, or it could be like a how-to, or like here's an overview of what it is that you're looking for. But yeah, the first time a video popped up in those search results, I was like, oh, this is cool because it's just bringing so much more together than just providing text-based
Hmm.
answers.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. Well, one of the challenges though for all of us marketers is that, this AI is kind of like the shiny new tool, and
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. But one of the things, of course, as great as it might be, or maybe not, at helping the business, you still need to have the fundamentals covered. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think I'm fortunate enough to have been around long enough now to have, gone through that dot-com boom and the introduction of social media and, now AI as well. And there are always new shiny tools and new ways to reach customers, but actually what has never changed, and even before like the dot-com boom as well, when you go back to much more traditional marketing too, is that understanding your customers and solving their pain points has remained consistent. So knowing who your customers are and getting the right message in front of them at the right time is super important. So in a sense, like AI is really changing things, but actually it's not really changing anything at all. You still need to be focused on who your audience is, how you serve them, how you respond to their requests. And that's where that sort of holistic marketing strategy comes into it now as well. It's making sure you've got all bases covered and you have not only, search and social covered, but you're also like focused in on customer reviews, because that's a key data point that the AI search engines look at as well, making sure your website's up to date and you've got great content on there as well, and how you change your language around too. So it really is about making sure that you've got those really strong foundations in place of like who your audience is, how you serve them. The basics are really covered from going back to the 4 Ps of marketing, product, price, place, promotion. You've still got to have all of those things there. The tools are there to like help enhance, the strategy that you already have. So it's not a replacement. It's not like, yay, let's go and do something brand new completely. It's, you still need to be in there with those like fundamentals and, covering the bases off. And if you've got that in place, that's the foundation you need to then really, take advantage of all those tools that are out there.
Yeah, and yeah, well, I'm definitely your ranking in my book just went way up because you mentioned the 4 Ps. I'm a fan
Yeah.
of the 4 Ps.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the 6 Ps or the 98
Mm-mm.
Ps. Everybody's
No.
got all these Ps. I just like the four. Just give me the four.
Same. Yeah, exactly. Easy to remember, and yeah, but but that's right. They cover the bases. They've been around for decades, and
Yeah,
yeah, as
yeah.
long as people are remembering those and making sure they've got those covered, then it doesn't matter if AI is involved or not. That's the foundation of like a solid marketing strategy.
Yep, yeah, exactly. And yeah, really cool. So, what are some of the things that marketers should know about AI search, and what can they really do to to make sure that they're getting everything right? You mentioned the website, of course, but I'm sure that if you drill down into that, there's more to it.
Yeah, so what I really recommend that all marketers do is go into any of the AI tools and actually do it across all of them as well, is, go in as your customer and ask the questions that your customers, are actually asking you or want solved, and see what those results are that are coming up as part of AI search. Have a look at what those data sources are that it's pulling from to see, where it's getting its information about your business. And I would say do this in a version of, an AI search engine that you haven't already, used to talk about your business. So log into a new account so it doesn't know anything about you. And,
Hmm.
ask it questions about your business, and then go in and ask it the same questions about your competitors as well, and see how that changes. Because what's really interesting is that, it's things like Wikipedia pages now are a key source of
Hmm.
data that's being pulled through. And, a lot of businesses have them, but a lot of businesses don't. And it's one of those things that sometimes you kind of set it up and then forget about it. But having that, up to date with relevant
Hmm.
information is really important. It's things like knowledge bases and community forums. So whether or not it's Reddit, which you don't have any control over, but if you have your own sort of customer focused community forum, that's being picked up as well, if it's
Hmm.
obviously open to, the search engines being able to access. And I did an interesting, look between HubSpot and Salesforce. And what was interesting between the two of those was the answers that were coming through from HubSpot was really coming through from their community forum, and the information that they as a business were putting in there.
Hmm.
And it wasn't coming through from their website or their other content. That forum seemed to be like their key source. Whereas with Salesforce, they had a lot more optimized content and a lot more conversational language in the content on their website and in their videos. And that's what the search engine was like picking up to provide from an answers perspective. So it's definitely, thinking about what's on your website. It's making sure, especially if you're a B2B tech company where review sites like G2 and Capterra and Trustpilot and different platforms like that, they're really important with the AI search engines as well. It's picking up that independent, reviews. So if a customer's doing a comparison on your business and looking at you and your competitors, it's picking information up from like those review
Mm,
sites as well and getting that independent customer feedback. So it's focusing in on those. It's, having a video strategy. We've known for the last few years that, video is like the future and something that all businesses should be incorporating, but definitely making sure that, you've got content on YouTube because it's picking it up from there as well. So each business is going to be different. So definitely, my advice is jump into the different platforms, do the searches, see what those signals are already, see what the signals are of your competitors, and then look at where the gaps are. Where do you need to optimize? Where should you focus your time, and look at how you can start to influence that a bit more.
mm. Well, I like your point about using, a chat GPT or your AI and then asking it to be a searcher and trying to find a specific product and then
Yeah.
seeing where how you stack up against your competition and then asking for the sources. Now, one thing I've found when I've asked for the sources, you really only get the URL. You don't get the rest of the link. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's changed now. But the last time I did it, it didn't give me like the whole URL. It just gave me the domain name. Is that
Yeah.
still the case or?
Oh, I haven't actually looked too closely at that and actually done a comparison. I think it shows in the if you don't have the sidebar open that shows all of the sources and it's just showing the links in the answers, then yeah, I think it does just show the domain, but
Mm,
actually in the
okay.
sources down the side, it does seem to be a lot more detailed around what the link is and where it's coming from. But I've not looked to see if it's pulling through things like UTMs or anything like that as well that would help from a tracking perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm writing down your point about Wikipedia and even Reddit. I've been surprised at how much Reddit kind of is going on there.
Yeah.
One of the challenges that you have in AI is what is the right language to use and conversational language and or how conversational should it be and how do you
Yeah.
then make your keywords be important based on that conversational language. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so and I think we've been using it for years already when we think about search because we've probably all been asking like Alexa and Siri or even Google Assistant questions for years, right? And we do that from a question answer conversational perspective. And it's just taking that a step further into the search world and thinking about, when people are using, ChatGPT or any of the other ones, it really is that question answer focus as if you're talking to a friend. It's like, hey, can you like help me find this out? And so when we think about what's on our websites, which have traditionally been really focused towards keywords to appear in Google, it's thinking about how we can add a bit more sort of FAQ approach into it as well. So some
Mm,
of the tips for that is, making sure you've got on your key pages, whether or not it's like your homepage or if it's like a product or service page as well, like a what is like my product, and then just having that answer there, like how does this help X customers and having it there. So a lot of the information already exists. It's just thinking about how it's structured differently. So a quick sort of win around that at the moment without having to change everything is thinking about perhaps how could you add a few FAQs towards the bottoms of your pages as well. So if you haven't got a knowledge base out there that's already answering all of those questions, thinking about how you can just adapt, some of those pain points that your customers have, why they, buy from you, and incorporate that into your landing pages that you have so that those search engines pick them up. So, and
mm.
that's one of the things it does look at from a priority perspective.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense, and because I think you're right. I think the language that I use for when I do a Google search is very. It
Yeah.
seems to be a lot more specific as to what I type in, and then what I add on. As I don't quite find what I'm looking for, and I'm trying to filter it down a little bit. Whereas, I think in ChatGPT, it's kind of like, you're like what you're talking about is, hey, I'm talking to a friend and, hey,
Yeah.
what kind of cat litter box would you recommend today,
Exactly. And I was reading about this just the other day as well, and it was a study, and I can't remember the stats exactly off the top of my head, but it was looking at what people use like Google and like those more traditional search engines for. And a lot of the time that's intent. Like you're going there because you already know that you need something and you're
Mm,
looking for that. And that's where the keyword optimizations come from. Whereas there is a shift with the AI search engines where people are using them a lot more to do research and to educate themselves as well. And that's a completely different mindset to, going into Google now and going, oh, where can I stay if I'm in Rome or something like that? And, those types of questions are different, and it's sort of different purposes people seem to be using it for at the moment, which is quite fascinating. So that'll be interesting to see how that
yeah.
plays out. But definitely thinking about how you can educate your customers is a key thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, we're definitely now in a huge transformation. It's not just marketing, but certainly in marketing, the transformation is enormous. And talk a little bit about that and what you see kind of as maybe the what's going to happen in 6 months or 12 months or a year, and is DeepSeek going to get in the way, or what's going on there?
Yeah, you know what? I wish I had that crystal ball, but I feel like
Well,
every
you mean
day
you
when
don't?
I, yeah,
I thought you had it. What happened to it?
I know. I think my life would, yeah, be so different if I had that for sure. But I think what's exciting about AI at the moment is that it seems to be changing on a daily basis. I woke up this morning and I saw that Perplexity have launched something new, and there's always something different being added into ChatGPT as well. So I think trying to forecast out like what is that going to look like in 6 or 12 months time? What is it going to look like next week is probably a better question at the
Yes.
moment as well. And I think that's where, us as, marketers and businesses as well is being, in a position to be able to adapt and test and learn and like really go, oh, okay, this is new. How can we use it? Like, what does that mean for me as a business, either from a how I do my job perspective or how our customers, find us. But, it's only going to increase. I think I did pull it out. There was a couple of stats from sort of surveys last year, and I think it's by 2027, over 90 million US adults will use generative AI as their primary search engine, and that's up from, I think it was 13% in 2023. And that's huge. Like, that's just such a massive change to how people
Mm.
behave today. And I think, we're going to start seeing more and more, AI agents and, what we previously referred to as chatbots, just becoming a lot more prevalent in our lives as well. So, I wish I had the crystal ball to predict it. It'd make things a lot more easier. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting time at
Yeah.
the moment.
Well, you're
Yeah.
letting me down that you didn't have the crystal ball, that's for sure. I was counting on you. What's
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, one last question. We've been in marketing for quite a while, both of us, and it's kind of an interesting situation for those kids coming right out of college that want to get into marketing. You have any advice for what you would recommend for them as to what they should do and how they can, hopefully get a job and be successful at it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so challenging at the moment, I think, for people to break into the industry, and especially if you're working in tech as well. There's obviously a lot going on. It's very hard for people, but I would say definitely be open when it comes to marketing to more things than just social media. I know there's been a lot of focus, on like the younger generations. I hate saying that, where TikTok and things like that has really been the core of what they've been focusing on from a marketing perspective, but really take that step back and making sure that they're covered from like that foundational perspective as well, and that they're really, learning and being involved in projects where they can be, that's outside of, their day-to-day, life on social media or digital, as well as thinking about, jumping into events. It's, email or print advertising and different things as well. It's like really try and become a well-rounded marketer from that perspective, and look
Mm.
for those opportunities, and find a mentor that can help you as well. But definitely say yes to opportunities that come up, and learn as much as you can from all the different opportunities that get presented. It's much easier, I think, today to learn than what it was when I first started back in marketing all those years ago. So definitely use the tools that are at their disposal to, to educate themselves and learn. But yeah, make sure that they're really focusing in on being like that holistic marketer,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and I think that stay curious is a
Yeah,
huge piece of success for a marketer, and I,
yeah,
I think they have to work harder than I don't know, maybe we did when we came out of college, because it is
yeah,
such a you're not just competing against other marketers, you're competing against an AI engine that can
yeah.
that might be able to do a lot of the things that you're not even aware of.
That's exactly right. And that's
Yeah.
where like understanding your customers and like understanding the psychology of how
Mm.
people, buy or search for information, that's something that, we as, marketers should be really focused on a day-to-day basis, is not so much on the tools all the time, but actually like really like, who are our customers? What are our problems? Am I talking to them? Do I know what they want? And digging in that way, because if you're doing that, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, Debbie, I could talk to you for a long time. I think you've given me a couple of things, and I've actually written down a couple of notes here,
Amazing.
and I really like your point about just searching, and just to see what your company looks like,
Yeah,
as if you were an individual searching, for whatever the product is. So,
yeah.
but in any case, thank you so much. Thank you for participating. And where can folks learn more about you and potentially reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm my website. I've made it very difficult for people to find me. I've just used my name. So debbiegainsford.com is where people can get in touch. And I've just launched a Substack recently, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. So they're the best places to come find me.
Yeah.
So everything's with my name, so it's super easy to find.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for participating. And for the audience, please stay tuned for many other videos in this series on the backstory and marketing and AI. And please make sure go to prorelevant.com, and you'll find more of these episodes and podcasts. And if you'd like more information on my book, please go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. Debbie, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Guy. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.